Hidemi Miyata, better known by his pseudonym Hurricane Ryu, is a fairly well-known name in the tokusatsu community. He's been a suit actor since the early 90s, bringing kaiju like Batra and King Ghidorah to life in the Heisei Godzilla films. However, despite being a fan of kaiju movies since his youth, it wasn't his first career choice, and Ryu had actually spent a significant portion of his life as a writer and manga illustrator. Unfortunately, despite having a number of stories published throughout the 80s, Hurricane Ryu never saw huge success in manga, but that almost wasn't the case. In 1983, Ryu's most popular manga, Gekisatsu Uchuken, or Space Punch, was chosen to be adapted into an animated TV series. However, the project never materialized. After a decade without seeing major success, Ryu entered the world of tokusatsu suit acting, where he saw major success acting in Godzilla movies, in a field he still works in to this day. But one can only wonder what would have been Ryu's path if Space Punch actually had been adapted into a TV anime. Space Punch originated as a novel written by Ryu while he was in high school. He planned to publish the novel in his school's literary magazine, but it ended up being passed around by his classmates. The premise was simple. What if the film Sister Street Fighter was set in outer space? The main character was 17-year-old Lee Yan-yoon, a name Ryu was given by a friend of his who did Chen-style Taiji Quan. Yan-yoon was based on Sister Street Fighter's lead actress Etsuko Shihomi, and the series would follow her adventures as she fights with her fighting technique, the White Strike. After graduating high school, Ryu entered Tokyo Designer Gakuen College's manga department, where he made friends with a group of anime and tokusatsu enthusiasts, including names like Kaneda Masumi, Senno Knife, and Toshihiro Harano. Though he admits he didn't take class seriously, often wasting time playing with Chogokin toys. Ryu made his comic debut in 1980 with Parabola of Ecstasy in Comic Dump number 10, but he wouldn't draw any real attention until 2 years later. In 1982, Ryu published his one-shot Mad City 16-Beat in the first issue of Lemon People, a hentai magazine specializing in lolicon material. Ryu was asked to contribute more work for the second issue of Lemon People, but at a loss for ideas, he instead decided to adapt his high school novel, Space Punch. Since Lemon People specialized in lolicon material, Yan-yoon was changed from 17 years old to 9 years old. The chapter was intended to be a one-shot, but due to Ryu struggling to come up with new ideas and characters, decided to continue making more stories for Space Punch. A year later, Space Punch was chosen to be adapted for animation. Originally, the project was going to be helmed by Jin Productions, who had worked on series like Megaloman and Diapolon, but production was moved to Studio Artland, where it would be directed by Noboru Ishiguro, director of Space Battleship Yamato. Ryu's friend Toshihiro Harano was working at Artland at the time as an animator on the Super Dimension Fortress Macross, and Harano would take the lead on the project along with fellow animator Ichiro Itano. That same year, an LP was produced featuring what are believed to have been unfinished tracks from the animation score. The music was going to be composed by Sukeban Deka composer Ichiro Nita, but at Hurricane Ryu's request, it was changed to Reijiro Kuroku. The LP contains several images from scenarios that may have appeared in the series, and even a plot synopsis. The synopsis reads, "The story begins in a poor village near Qian in the autonomous region of Middleside, former mainland China inland district, a remote valley. A man named Kenryu returns to his homeland with his daughter Yan-yoon. Kenryu is a former member of the International Organization of the Forces, a group that opposes the evil syndicate known as Madia. Madia is in search of Kenryu because of his wife's mysterious bloodline, which grants Kenryu's daughter special powers. Kenryu trained his daughter in Kung Fu to defend herself because he knows that one day Madia will come back for them, and sure enough, that day eventually arrives. Kenryu's village is attacked by the Worst Guild, a clan of armored soldiers under Madia's command. Kenryu defeats the armored soldiers one after another until he comes face to face with the assassin Helmer Zaku. Zaku defeats Kenryu, and Yan-yoon is captured and brainwashed by Madia, becoming one of their child soldiers. Yan-yoon and her squad of young psychic soldiers, led by the Esper Lan Lia, are sent to destroy the base belonging to the organization that opposes Madia. During the operation, Yan-yoon realizes her team were only a decoy, and Madia has sent a team to destroy the base with Yan-yoon's team inside. While Madia and the organization fight, Yan-yoon escapes, vowing revenge for the death of her father. On her journey, Yan would be assisted by the organization's leader, Director Kishida, and the giant robot Gigantus X. Meanwhile, Yan fights against Madia's psychic soldiers like the assassin Zabak, who controls stone golems with psychic energy. Included on the LP are several drama segments depicting character interactions, including this scene where Lan Lia reunites with Yan-yoon.
そこにいるのは分かっている。出ておいで。久しぶりだね。私だよ。レーガス。 今度こそどこへも逃がさないからね。ゆっくりなぶり殺しにしてやるよ。誰だっけお前。バカおいじゃないよ。お前、私忘れたっていうのかい？お前のライバルのこのレーガ様を。ああ、わかった。いじめっ子の、いつも給食のパンを独り占めしたり、靴の中に画鋲を入れたり、意地悪ばっかりしてたレーガか。変なことばっかり思い出すんじゃないよって。その減らず口、二度と叩けなくしてやるよ。さあ、かかっておいで。ドリューガンジャの型。何よ、
It's been speculated that the series had trouble finding a sponsor since the original manga was published in a hentai magazine, but personally I don't think that's the case. I think the real issue is that Artland was winding down on the production of the Super Dimension Fortress Macross, and immediately after they would begin producing the theatrical film Macross Do You Remember Love? At the same time, Artland and almost all of the Macross staff would also be working on Macross's sister series, the Super Dimension Century Orgus. Itano and Hirano played large roles in both of these projects, and I believe it's due to this massive workload that Space Punch was quietly cancelled. Also, so what if it was published in a hentai magazine? Lemon People was phenomenally popular. The general consensus in Japan, especially within artist circles, was very positive, with Gundam creator Yoshiyuki Tomino naming Double Zeta character El People after the magazine. Her name is El People. Not to mention that around this time we'd also see the release of the TV hentai series Cream Lemon, which was also hugely popular. Not to mention the OVA Fight Ixer 1, which was also adapted from a Lemon People manga, and was hugely successful. Hurricane Ryu would try to adapt Space Punch one more time, but this time as a live-action production. However, he was laughed at when he suggested casting a child actor as Yan Yun. Ryu was disappointed by this, especially after he saw the 1985 film Hello Dracula, where he felt Liu Chi-yu, who played the character Ten-Ten, would have been a great fit for Yan Yun. In 1984, at the request of Toho advertising manager Hideyoshi Yamane, Ryu would travel around in a Godzilla suit to promote Toho's Godzilla revival in the 1984 film The Return of Godzilla. He would do this again to promote the 1989 film Godzilla vs. Biollante, and this caught the attention of special effects director Koichi Kawakita, who casted Ryu in the role of King Ghidorah in the 1991 film Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. This would mark the beginning of Hurricane Ryu's career as a professional suit actor, a career he's still in to this day. But right before that, he would actually go on to direct his own independent tokusatsu film, 1987's Pretty Executor. Unfortunately, Pretty Executor was an independent film, and it mostly consists of long, drawn-out dialogue scenes until near the end of the film. As for Space Punch, though it never got an anime, Toshihiro Hirano would go on to direct Fight Ixer 1, an OVA adapted from another manga published in Lemon People. And Ixer 1 would even bring on several staff members who were originally planned to work on Space Punch. For example, Miki Kakizawa, who sang the theme song on the Space Punch Image album, was brought on to sing Ixer 1's theme song. Ixer 1 would go on to become a cult classic, spawning 2 more sequels, a 6-episode sequel series, another 2-episode series, a manga, and all of these were brought over to the US in the 90s. Ixer 1 actually wound up having a huge impact on the western side of the anime fandom. It's also worth mentioning that Ixer 1 is one of the earliest titles to receive fan parody dubs.
This is more fun watching Gundam!
That is funny because it is a reference to things I enjoy.
We'll never know if Space Punch would have garnered the same popularity as Ixer 1 had it not fallen through the cracks. The story of Space Punch's rise and demise could have easily been a sad one, but honestly, if Space Punch didn't fail, Hurricane Ryu may have never discovered his dream job, and Toshihiro Hirano may have never adapted Ixer 1. However, Ixer 1's cultural impact is a story for another day. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested in a retrospective on Ixer 1, its history, and its legacy, as well as a retrospective on Ixer 1's director, Toshihiro Hirano. Making this kind of content requires me to import Japanese books and magazines, as well as get them translated, so if you'd like to see more stuff like this, consider becoming a patron. Or if you want to give a one-time donation, my Ko-fi link is in the description.